To that achievement.
Joe Byrne reporting there. Well, Damian Collins is the MP for Folkestone and Hythe and joins us now. Damian, some countries have turned their backs, haven't they, on nuclear, but how important is it, do you think, for the UK's future energy needs as a low-carbon source of power?
It will still have a very significant part to play as a low carbon source of power, because whilst we have a significant investment in renewables, we need a certain guaranteed amount of energy that we know will always be there. It doesn't matter how sunny it is or how windy it is, that there's energy that we can always depend upon. And that's why, as part of the mix, nuclear is really important. And as John said there, it's done a tremendous job producing power for Kent and the southeast of England, an area of high energy demand. And that's why I think it has a role to play in the future as well.
Do you see a nuclear future then for your part of Kent through these small nuclear reactors that Rolls-Royce have been looking at?
Yes, I think small modular reactors could be ideal for a site like Dungeness. I've already spoken on several times now to Rolls-Royce about this developing technology, and this isn't sort of like a way off in the future either. They've got an active consortium that's been set up looking to fund the development of the first 3 reactors and looking for sites. It may not be until about 2030 that these are operational, but that would already be sooner than the turning on of some of the big new nuclear power stations that are already being built.
And how would this be funded? Because there's been concerns, hasn't there, about the reliance on foreign powers, including China, to fund future nuclear projects like this.
Well, and that's one of the reasons small modular reactors are so interesting, is because this is a British consortium being led by Rolls-Royce. They're looking to raise money to fund it. In fact, there's a bill going through Parliament tomorrow, a government bill whose purpose is to open up the nuclear industry to investment from big pension funds and other institutional funders. They're also looking for a small amount of government money to help get this up and running quicker. But after that, this would be a British industry. It would be a self-supporting British industry making these reactors and potentially exporting the technology to the world, something we've not done as a country for many years.
And how much support do you think there would be for that locally?
There's always been a lot of support for the nuclear industry in the Folkestone and Hythe constituency in the Romney Marsh area. In fact, I remember when I first became an MP 11 years ago being told that some of the highest support in the country for the nuclear industry was found on Romney Marsh. And it's understandable why. It's been a safe technology there. It currently employs around 1,000 people in the nuclear industry, both working at Dungeness B and in decommissioning at the A station. And it's a provider of high quality, well-paying jobs. So I think we want these additional sources of low carbon power, and we want the employment the technology brings as well.
And what about the waste generated by nuclear power? There's not a solution to that.
Well, most of our waste processing is done in Cumbria at Sellafield, and I mean, so that to me would be the logical place to look at things like safe storage or creating a permanent deep store for nuclear waste. But obviously, a lot of the waste is associated with what's been passed, the reactors and technology of the past. I think that's why smaller modular reactors are very interesting. They could produce a significant amount of power, but operating in a very different way, and they don't require years of on-site construction. And I think for a site like Dungeness, where one of the issues we were talking earlier on in the interviews with John at the power station about the site of Dungeness, the principal issue with Dungeness as being a site for one of the massive new reactors, like you see at Hinkley Point in Somerset, was there wasn't really enough land available without disturbing some of the sort of pristine shingle that is very high level of protection. Whereas the modular reactors could be built effectively on the brownfield site land at Dungeness, on the existing site within the existing footprint of the power stations there, which so would be no additional land loss, and you'd be reusing land at the power station that's been decommissioned. So I think these all together make Dungeness a very attractive site for this technology.
And finally, just before we let you go, there have been a few headlines from COP26 conference today. Good news on the declaration to reverse deforestation by over 100 world leaders. What's your reaction to that news?
I think it's excellent news to do that. And I think there's been a lot of really compelling arguments put forward about the benefits of planting more trees, something we can all do. And indeed, the Royal Horticultural Society this summer have been promoting even planting more shrubs and bushes in our gardens, more plants that attract bees and other insects. Us all doing a little bit like that can have a massive impact on biodiversity and on the planet, as well as big schemes to plant more trees and new forests.
And more than 80 countries have agreed to cut methane emissions, but not China, Russia or India. How can this be a success unless all the major powers unite, towards this?
I think all steps in the right direction are positive and are evidence of a success. And I think if you look back at these conferences and these summits going really back to Rio in the early 90s, what we've seen is the world together taking gradual steps in the right direction. We'd like it to go further and faster. We'd like all the countries to be with us all the way. But it's been effective so far at countries making announcements, making commitments, making some progress. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to keep on working at this.
Thanks for your time today. That's Damian Collins, the Folkestone and Hythe MP, with the latest on COP26 and also his thoughts on Kent with a nuclear future.